Hey, what's going on, guys? This is something that I've gotten a couple of questions from, an actual substantially large number of questions about, and that is, how do you shoot a review? Where people have said, what kind of advice can this guy give to you on how to make a review? So I thought I'd take this time, I'd shoot this video talking about how to make a review. And granted, this is not the gospel. This is personally stuff that I would follow when I make myself a review of something. And hopefully it helps you guys out there, the people that are trying to come up and do a review themselves. So we're going to actually break this up into several parts. And actually all the parts are going to be shot in one video, so it's not going to be several parts where you're going to have to watch it. But I'm going to go through and I'm going to walk you through what I do, kind of the steps in my head that I go through when I shoot a review, and hopefully if it helps some of you out there, it does. And if it doesn't help others, well, there you go. So this is the review spots, how to shoot a review. And again, we're going to start this in parts. We're actually going to look at this in one big picture, but we're actually going to do it in segments. And I always find the best way to shoot a review is to look at it like a sandwich. Of course, we've got to look at it like a food item. So, much like a sandwich, what does a sandwich consist of? A sandwich consists of a slice of bread, and then a meat, or something inside. Some people don't like meat. Some people like peanut butter and jam. Okay, peanut butter and jam inside. And some other people say, well, I don't like peanut butter. I like egg salad. So it might be egg salad inside. And some people might say, I don't like eggs, and you know what? We can go all day talking about this. So much so that poor Two-Face has fallen over. So the idea though is, if I can get the gun back into Two-Face, the idea though is that all reviews, at least the way I look at them, all reviews should be looked at like a sandwich. Just get him to stand. There you go. Stay. But the idea is that a review, you have a top piece of bread, you have a bottom piece of bread, and then in the middle is the meat of your review. The meat of the review is the actual figure that you're reviewing, where you talk about, the figure, the way it looks, the figure, maybe how it moves, and any design pros and cons that you have regarding the figure. But let's start, before we get to the meat of it, let's talk about the top slice and the bottom slice of bread. And some people are saying, dude, I'm already lost. Where are you going with this? Well, the idea is, you, as a reviewer out there, it is very simple for you to pick up a said toy and say, hey, this is Batman, or this is Two-Face Batman. This is what I like, this is what I don't like. That can serve as a very good review. And you might do that very well. And you might be very personable on camera. But to make yourself, at least I find, to make yourself different and to separate yourselves from maybe the other reviewers out there, because there's thousands and thousands of reviewers out there on YouTube, how do you make yourself different? Well, the idea is you want to personalize, you want to stamp this review, the review that you're making. Henceforth, why we have a top piece of bread and a bottom piece of bread. You'll notice whenever I do a review, for example, the one thing I always do is at the very beginning, if you watch my reviews, I'll always say, this is a toy spot on, in this case it's the Batman Reborn Two-Face Batman, and then I'll always end the review with, that was a toy spot on this. The idea is you always want to cap your review. You want to cap it at the front, cap it at the bottom, or at the end, so that whenever somebody is watching it, it's a self-contained video where you advertise your channel at the beginning, you advertise it at the end. I find that's always a crucial way to seal and contain the review itself, to give it a real polished look. So instead of starting a review with, I like this Batman toy, this is a really nice Batman toy, you should go out and buy it, think to yourself, well, I should start the review with a opening introduction. And it might consist of saying, well, this is so-and-so's channel reviewing this item, or this toy. you would also then want to finish your review with that same idea. Always try to advertise yourself in the beginning and at the end to have a finished review. Now granted, you could start your review by saying, I'm RadCoolGuy371, this is my review of Too-Face, and then at the end say, you know, you should go pick up this Too-Face, I was doing a review on this Too-Face figure. But always try to find a unique way of doing it. A unique way of doing it that it's not just necessarily your name. Because, I mean, again, a lot of people have done it where they just say, hey, I'm, you know, Josh Halbert review, you know, I'm doing a review on this. Try to find a unique way of saying it. The more unique way, the more interesting way that you can do it, the easiest way it is for you to separate yourself from the other reviewers that are reviewing on YouTube. So if you can find a clever, maybe a witty way to start your review and end your review, the better. So it might consist of calling your review something other than maybe a review. Like you could call it a segment, or you could say, you know, this is a vid bit, you know, a video bit, or this is a, you know, a toy. You know, you're in the toy chest today. We're looking at this. You know, I'm using this as an example, and then at the end of your videos say, and today we opened the toy chest and we looked at this. So see, right then and there, we've started the review and we've ended the review, and we've personalized both ends to give it a fully contained review, a fully finished professional review. So that's why I always look at it as a sandwich. Whenever you start your review and whenever you end your review, always think it as bread. Bread is the exact same on either side, unless you're one of those weird people that like to have like white bread and whole wheat bread on either side. But the idea is you always want to start and finish your review advertising your channel. Bread aside, what you have inside is your meat. The meat is the main meat and potatoes of what you're reviewing, and that is the toy itself. And with the toy itself, again, you can talk about the coloring, how it's made, you know, the good quality you like about it, you know, maybe the articulation. There's very many aspects to the actual meat of the review. And some would say, well, Spot, you can't just quite have a sandwich with bread and meat. That makes for a very boring sandwich. It does. It also makes for a very boring review. So you have to ask yourself, well, what else can my sandwich have? Everybody who has a roast beef sandwich will always have roast beef. But what can I add to it that makes my sandwich different from everybody else's? So that's when we want to start thinking about condiments. We want to think about what else can we add to the inside of the sandwich after our introduction, but before the meat. What can we add in there that can add extra character to this review? Some examples of what people can add before they actually start talking about the figure itself. One major aspect is packaging. And packaging is a good way to start a review. And certainly I've learned in the time that I've been doing this to try to cut that back quite a bit. But a good way to start a review is the package end of it. Yes, not everybody has the package readily available. A lot of people, of course, buy their toys and open them right away. So if you don't have the package for it, that's fine. You could probably also just show the card. You could say, you know, before looking at the toy, here's the card, or here's the package that he would have come with. Very nice looking package. You could kind of put your spin on it and talk about what you like, what you don't necessarily like about the package, and of course read the bio of the character, or the statistics of the character. And then when package is done, you'd say, now let's have a look at the toy. Other things that you can add to jazz up the actual inner area of your sandwich is things like you could give it a grading system. And this is stuff that then leads to the very end of your review. You want to find the things that you can add to it. You're always trying to find something that you can add to your review that makes it different from everybody else's. And it's like anything. When you go see a movie, when you go listen to music, you're always looking for something that's different than other stuff. Because if everything was the exact same, well, it would be a little boring, would it not? So the very end of your review, it's always nice to put your final thoughts in, and always to say, you know, would you recommend the figure? Would you not recommend the figure? Because really, at the end of it, that's what people are kind of looking for. They kind of want to they want to see what you think of the figure, as to whether they think they should then buy it or whether they should pass on it. So you could find different interesting ways to review it and give it a grade. You could give it a letter grade, which I've seen a couple people have done. You could give it a number grade. You could easily just say, I give it a thumbs up, I give it a thumbs down. You know, I'm a little on the fence as to whether, you should pick it up or not. But people always like to see what you have to say about the actual toy. So that, in a nutshell, basically is how to shoot a review. Always start your review with the first slice of bread, an introduction, a way that you can personalize the review itself. Always end your review in that same fashion, and keep it consistent with the first one. So if you always say, like for example, I just made this example up. Today we're looking in the toy chest at the DC Direct Batman Reborn Two-Face Batman. You could, of course, say it a little bit better than what I just did. And at the very end, say, today we opened the toy chest, and we had a look at the DC Direct Batman Reborn Two-Face Batman. Have your main review, the main body of the review on the inside, where you talk about the coloring of the figure, the paint, and of course the articulation. Some people can go through and talk about articulation a little more than others. Some people just go through the figure itself and say he has a ball-jointed head, ball-jointed shoulders, he has a swivel in the bicep, a bend at the elbow. Some people actually will show the full motion. It depends on really how you want to shoot the review. Some people are better visually, where they like viewers like a visual representation. So to simply say a figure is articulated in the head, some people actually would like to see the actual movement of that head so that they can get a full feel of it. Things also I like to point out too is accessories, which is something else aside from packaging that you can always do. So when after you shoot your package, you can get then to the figure itself, talk about the accessories that he comes with, and you can take the accessories off, take them off, and you can show them to the camera. Like for example, Two-Face Batman comes with a hand pistol, as you can see. Talk about what you like about the pistol. For example, I like the fact that there's a nice brown on the handle, and that it's not just simply a single paint colored accessory, that they've actually gone in and painted the other aspects of the handgun. Two-Face's other accessories include, he comes with a stand. Talk about what you like and what you don't like about the stand. I don't like the fact that it's so small and it's very generic. Personally, I would have liked a much larger stand. And then of course you can mention the fact that his coin is not removable. It's molded in with the figure. Do you like it? Do you not like it? So there you go. So quickly, just to go through this, if I was to start my review, I would say this is a toy spot. Today we're looking at the DC Direct Batman Reborn Two-Face Batman. Start the review with, this is the package, this is the bio. Next part of the package, you could talk about next part of the review, you talk about the accessories. Again, all the condiments before you get to the meat. The meat, you would talk about the figure. I like the paint, it's very clean. It's not too messy. There's no bleed, which I really like. The sculpt is very nice. And show a close-up of it if you can, depending on, of course, the camera that you have. Talk about the articulation. Final thoughts, would you recommend the figure? And then wrap the review up. This is a toy spot. Today we're looking at the DC Direct Batman Reborn Two-Face. And that essentially is your review. If you can kind of always if you can decide in your head how you want your review to be laid out. Now you can of course leave parts that I've just talked about out. You can add your own stuff in if you want. But in your head, always have a checklist or picture in your head a sandwich. And every time you shoot the review, if you can keep to that consistent formula, you should get into the habit of being able to go boom, 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 boom. Okay, I've got my introduction. I've got my package and accessories and the bio, talking about the figure, talking about the aspects of the figure, final thoughts, final grade of the review, and of course closing thoughts that mirror, or a closing wrap up that mirrors your introduction. And keep it contained like that. Review aside, and I know it's going to be a bit of a long video here, but review aside, things that you can do as well to improve your video. One thing I always find to do is you want to keep your background a very generic background. Don't have your background very busy. At least personally, what I like doing. The idea is when I shoot a review, I always like to keep a consistently black background. I used to use a white background. Some people, like ophthalmologists, use a white background. But the idea is you always want the background to stay consistent so that people will always focus on the figure itself. Sometimes what people might do is they shoot a figure maybe on a table, or at their desk, and you're looking at the monitor, you might be looking at the mouse, the speakers, you might be looking at other stuff, and all of it distracts from really what you're reviewing. Always think that whatever you're reviewing should be the only thing that should be on camera. And you can do other stuff to the background if you want to put your logo, if you want to put other stuff like that. But always try to keep the focal point to be the topic of whatever you're reviewing, or the subject of what you're reviewing. Other things that you can do as well to help improve your reviews, and again, it's all opinion based, is always keep your camera stable. Always keep this guy stable right here. Sometimes if you shoot a review and you do it guerrilla style, holding the camera, and you're trying to shoot the figure, what you're essentially doing is, when you watch the video, it's like, hey, I'm shooting this review of Two-Face. I hope you really like it. People have a tough time with jarring images, and the smoother and the more stable you can get your footage to be, the more accepting it is for people to watch it, and the more relaxing it is for somebody to watch a video. So always think of your camera as the stable item of the review, and use the figure as the mobile end of it, because you can always pick up your figure, move it closer to the camera, you can rotate the figure, you can show different accessories of the figure. You don't necessarily have to rely on the camera. The more you rely on the camera, the more mobile that camera gets, the bigger chance you have of the footage being very jarring. So keep your base generic, keep your camera mobile, or keep your camera stable, the subject that you're reviewing mobile. Also, things that I find too is rely a lot on the fact, always be aware of where you are on the camera. So whenever you want to do close details, don't say, I find don't have the figure further back and say, I really like the sculpt on the figure's head. Because, as you're watching this right now, you're probably saying, well, I can't see the sculpt on his head. So as you're narrating what you're reviewing, whether you're on camera, whether you're not on camera, always act based on the narration that you're providing for your review. So the moment you say, I really like the sculpt on his head, make sure the camera or the audience is viewing what you're talking about at the time. So if you say, well, I really like the sculpt on the scar of Batman, make sure that that's the most visible aspect of the review at the time. Also, you'll usually find me putting a hand behind the subject whenever I'm shooting the review and I'm talking about a close-up feature. Always be aware, if you have a view screen, like I have a viewfinder here, always make sure that you're aware, you're always looking in that, and you're always aware of where the subject is at the time. So that when you're not shooting your review, Batman's over here, and you're talking about, you know, the details on the figure, or if you're shooting a review without your view screen, you don't have a one that has a view screen. Every once in a while, you know, look into the view eye, or the camera eye, to make sure that the item is always the subject of the video, and it's always in close view. Sometimes to get good detail, again, you can put your hand behind the subject, and sometimes it can actually help focus the item even better, allowing you to get a really close shot. So that pretty much sums up a video. The idea is always try to find ways to personalize your video. The more different you can be in your videos from other people, the better chance you have of your videos being watched. Try to find ways to be creative. Certainly you can't just hold a figure and say, I really like this Batman. This Batman is nice. I like it's red. I do like that. Maybe you can talk about what you like about it. You can, you know, bring humor into your review. Find ways that you can tweak it and add your own flair to it. That's what you always want to do. You want to add your own flair to your review. If you can bring humor into your video, try to do that. But I find never force a joke. You know, never find a way to be, you know, try to crack a joke about a review or during a review if it doesn't come natural. Always be yourself. I find for as informative as some reviews can be, unless you have passion in what you're reviewing, that is really what you're selling. First rule in advertising is that you're never selling the steak, you're always selling the sizzle. So it's not necessarily that you're always showing the figure as much as you're showing your passion for the figure. Certainly if you've got good footage of the figure, you're showing every aspect of the figure, people will buy it just based on how, you know, if you're showing enough of it, people will already buy into the idea of liking the figure. What you want to sell them on the review, though, is the passion that you have behind it. So I will wrap this video up here, guys. Like I said, it's not, if you have your own way of shooting a video, certainly by all means, you know, that is the way you shoot a video. But this is just stuff that I would follow. This is stuff that I go through when I shoot a video. Hopefully it helps some of you guys out there who are trying to find their own way. They're trying to find their style to shooting a video. And always, my friends, think of the sandwich. Think of the sandwich. And if you do, hopefully your videos will always follow a certain timeline. So this has been the review spot, showing you how to do a review, or at least how I shoot a review. Hopefully it's helped you guys, and I will see you guys next time.